to have exposure to the content, not just the computer.
Okay, yeah, because I was a little bit curious because I know like throughout my schooling, especially in math, in elementary school, middle school, we usually stuck to the textbooks, but now towards like high school, obviously we switched away from that. But I do think there is a value in textbook learning, like you just said, that you want people to learn content based like on the paper. So maybe you could look into that as something. And I do also want to note in math, maybe this is just a personal experience, but I do also know that with the I don't know if it's still currently employed at the schools, but we had like the thinking classrooms in math where there would be a lot of group work involved. And I do think that sometimes that when you do group work, typically people or younger children may get embarrassed if they don't understand certain topics, and then other kids might move ahead from them. And I'm not sure if with the iReady and the adaptive learning, if anyone does this in groups, but say you're working on a problem together, but one kid gets the problem, and so we all just plug it into the Chromebook, because that would happen a lot of times when we use MathSpace or Delta Math. So typically that can occur between kids. So I feel like that could also be something to look at, especially since you're talking about the math program for the Algebra 1 students and maybe asking for their feedback for how they like to learn. Because I know that group work, some people do view it as, oh, collaboration. But for me, sometimes when people get something and I don't, like, I'm embarrassed that I don't understand it and I don't want to say anything. And so then I kind of just I don't get it and we move on. So I think that can also be valuable for the classes, especially for the students who have to retake Algebra 1, because again, there might be a stigma around that. It's like, oh, you took it in 8th grade and then you have to take it again.
Right.
So I do think that maybe including student feedback would be valuable in a situation like this.
So I would say that that is something that I have not seen. It's, obviously we get feedback from students on surveys and things like that. You get a survey for everything, right? But having student voice in that curricular development process is one of the things that I think makes it the most valuable, right? Because a lot of times when we have students within our district, we do things for students, we do things to students, but we don't do things with students. So I appreciate that. And I want for you to know that that is something that is certainly on our radar and is highly valued. So thank you for that.
From our student representatives, and then Dr. Forger.
And then to add on to Pippa's point about the thinking classrooms, I also feel that with the instruction on the whiteboards and the group work, I feel like it wasn't very efficient because there would be students in your group that say they didn't understand a problem. The teacher would just throw the problem out. You'd go into a group and you'd have the people who just rush and do the problem. And then those students, they would just like stand around on the side and they wouldn't do anything. And then when it comes time for a test, they're going to fail the test because they don't understand what they're learning. And with the direct instruction, I've actually seen significant improvement and results from that in the Think Classroom. And then going on to student participation, when I get all these surveys sent out, I ask people, I say, please fill out the survey, because if you want to see change, this is what they're looking at. And a lot of the students who are being impacted, they don't really check their email that much. They're like, they see the survey and they say, oh yeah, look at how many questions there is. Look how much I have to fill out. They're like, I don't have the time to do this. I think that we need to think of better solutions than just sending surveys out to students in their email.
I completely agree. And